Well, hello, everyone. Hi. I'm Heather Moran. I'm the CEO here at 6th and I. And whether you're here with us in person or watching virtually from home, thank you so much for being with us tonight and for your support of a nonprofit. So, can you raise your hand if it's your first time at 6th and I? Welcome. Welcome. Here's a little bit about our history. This building dates back to 1908. It was a synagogue for 45 years and then home to an African Methodist Episcopal church for the next 50. When the church relocated and put the building up for sale, the highest bid was from someone who wanted to turn it into a nightclub. Unks, 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 unks. There's no denying it would have made for a great nightclub, but this historic building was saved, and for the past 19 years, 6th and I has served as a center for arts, entertainment, ideas, and Jewish life. Our aim is to inspire more meaningful and fulfilling lives through an unexpected mix of experiences that embrace the multifaceted identities of everyone we serve. It is my pinch me not to be believed pleasure to welcome Henry Winkler. An Emmy-award-winning actor, author, comedian, producer, and director. And the word around Hollywood is he's a total mensch. Many of us first came to know and love Henry for his iconic Golden Globe-winning role as the Fonz on Happy Days. Believe it or not, it was almost 50 years ago he got the call that the part was his, which happened to be on his 28th birthday, which was just not like a week and a half ago. But behind the scenes and beneath the Fonz's signature leather jacket, Henry experienced deep frustration and shame as he struggled with undiagnosed dyslexia. He reflects on this and so much more in his new memoir, Being Henry, which we're here to celebrate tonight. The book is a deeply vulnerable account of the pressures to transcend the role that made him famous. In it, he shares his lifelong journey towards self-acceptance, including why it's never too late to start therapy. Amen. Filled with profound heart, charm, and self-deprecating humor, Being Henry is a meaningful testament to the power of sharing truth and kindness and of finding fulfillment within yourself. Since the Happy Days era, Henry has endeared himself to a new generation with memorable roles as the incompetent lawyer Barry Zuckerhorn on Arrested Development, Dr. Saperstein on Parks and Recreation, and acting teacher Jen Casino on Barry, for which he received an Emmy-award. Henry is also the co-author of the Hank Zipser's children's book series, which follows a young boy with dyslexia. Last month, he and his writing partner, Lynn Oliver, published a new children's book, Detective Duck. Tonight, I'm happy to say that Henry will be in conversation with Daniel Silva. Yeah, a frequent guest on our stage and prolific #1 New York Times best-selling author of the beloved Gabriel Allon thriller series. His most recent book, The Collector, was the 23rd novel about the legendary spy and art restorer, and we have autographed copies for sale tonight. All right, I'm almost done. Later in the program, we'd love to hear your questions, and you'll be invited to line up at the microphones in either aisle. And after the conversation, everyone will have a chance to have their photo taken with Henry. You need to be willing to wait. There's a lot of people, but when you're patient, good things happen. So thank you, both here and at home, to all of you for joining us. And please help me give Henry Winkler and Daniel Silva a warm welcome to 6th and I.
Is here? Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I can't take you anywhere. Welcome. This is your first visit to our extraordinary
To I and
Sixth and I Synagogue. So
Yes, it is. I feel no, it's
I want to begin.
I'm taped and this is already falling off.
No.
Okay. My ear is not professional.
You okay there?
I am.
I want to thank everyone for joining us in this beautiful synagogue this evening. I want to start by introducing we have a very special couple of guests who came here just to see you.
And I want to hear who they are. This is making me crazy.
I write about fictional heroes. We have two real
heroes.
American heroes in the room tonight.
Hit it, babe.
First guest who came to see you this evening, a very special guest, is Officer Harry Dunn of the Capitol Police, who defended the Capitol on January 6th.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm going to take a basement.
Yeah.
And he talked about what it was like that night.
Yes.
And I looked at Jamie at the end of that interview. I said, "That is an extraordinary man." And he also struck me as I said, he's a kind man.
Yes.
And
he seems very huggable.
And he's 7.5 feet tall, but he's. But also here this evening is another incredible guest who came just to see you, and that is my dear friend, my hero, the vice chairwoman of the January 6th committee, Congresswoman Liz Cheney, and her husband, Phil Perry. So that's it. Thank you for coming, Henry.
I have had the most wonderful time. Thank you.
Okay. Well, welcome to 1 hour of Jewish neuroses here between the two of us. Let's have a little fun tonight. I would like to begin this interview with, I guess it's sort of the least favorite question that I ever get on book tour. Can I ask this question of you?
Go right ahead.
Henry Winkler.
Yes.
Why did you write this book?
Why did I write this book?
Yes.
My son Max, our youngest, has been for years saying to me, "Dad, you've got a lot of stories. You should write a book." And I said, I probably can't do that. Being dyslexic, it just seems daunting to me. Now, I've written children's books, and I understand how to do that with a partner. But this really seemed out of my realm. And then I mentioned to my agent, Esther Newberg, who I have been writing with since the beginning. Not writing with, but she's been my agent since the beginning. And I said, we have a little book out about a duckling. And I said, how is it doing? My son just hucks and drays me about writing a memoir. And she said, "You have your phone?" I said, "Yes, I do." She said, "I'll call you back." And within hours, she called me back, and she said, "Here's the deal. This is when it's due." Huh? I have said no to a lot of things in my life. I realize that is my pattern, that I immediately will talk my way out of something, but then I will say, just shut up, go to the precipice, and jump. And hopefully you will fly. And and I'm telling you that is a great way to live. Because I wasn't going to say this now, but you can take this to the bank. I know that everybody in this hall is powerful. Some of you haven't tasted your power. Some of you are afraid of your power. And some of you know that it's there. And I am telling you that there is nothing you cannot do. I know now, if you put one foot in front of the other, you will find that you can accomplish something you literally thought, no, I'm too old, I don't have time, I've got children, it's past, there is no time than right now time. And if you do it, if you just say, I am going to try, you will amaze yourself. That's it. That's what I learned.
Were you anxious?
You know, Nikki and Lily are here.
They are here. Yeah.
They are. They're your children.
My children?
I've known them since they were in the 4th grade.
Were you anxious to explore?
I am anxious about everything, Dan.
No,
I am a short Jew who is anxious.
Too, not that kind of anxious,
Oh.
not anxiety. Were you looking forward to looking back over the course of your life and trying to put it down?
I never thought about it. I
Didn't?
never thought about it. I just thought, I met a man. Now, I work with a woman on all of the 39 children's novels, so I knew how to work with a partner. And then they introduced me to James Kaplan. What I didn't know, that it was my responsibility to fly this man twice from New York to California, to feed him 3 times a day, and to put him up. So, but we talked for about 70 hours, and he would prompt me, he would take notes, he would then say, oh, let's go back to this. I'm not clear about this. And then it forced me to get clearer about stuff that I didn't remember, or I remembered differently, or I remembered partially.
Well, let's go back in time a little bit.
Okay.
I think that you were born sometime in the middle of the last century. I don't know.
45.
45. In New York City.
New York, 78th Street.
You're
Right down the street from Zabar's.
right down there.
I think Zabar's has the best Nova in America.
Your parents were recent immigrants.
Very short. But, you know,
this
you
country?
laugh. I had to live with them. My mother, in her mind, was wearing a Prussian uniform, a helmet with the point and everything. You know, I'm not kidding. I mean, these lovely people.
We need to fill in a little blank for them. Henry's parents came here in 1939, if I'm
Yes,
not
they
mistaken.
did. On a 6-week visa.
On a 6-week visa from Nazi
Berlin.
Germany, from Berlin.
My father knew that they were coming for pretty much good. My mother did not know that. He took my mother's jewelry, his mother's jewelry. He put him in a box. He melted down the chocolate from the box, poured it over the jewelry, so that when the Nazis said, do you have anything of value that you're taking out of Germany? He said, no, open our bags, I have nothing. And all the while, he was holding them in a box of chocolate. And then when he got here, he sold the jewelry in a pawn shop, which gave him the means to start the new life here, which I deeply appreciated and admired. That was it.
What was your life like on 78th Street in post-war America? What
Okay.
was it?
When you are a parent, your child is not an extension of who you are. You're not there to make them proud, and you're not doing well in school. You're not living up to your potential. And here it is. You know what? You're a dummer Hund. And for those of you who don't speak German, that means dumb dog.
Dumb.
Very supportive people. I made a decision that I would be a different parent, and I said to Stacy, when we have children, I will be a different parent. They thought if I stayed in my room, I was going to get geometry. If I stayed in and I did not go out on the weekend, I was going to get history. And I was not able to watch TV. So on the weekend, I would have a TV dinner. I would peel back the tin foil, extra butter on the mashed potato. I'd let the bubbling brown Betty bubble. And I watched television, but I had to time it really well because at that time, television had tubes. And when my very short parents came home, they took some phone books, they stood up so they could get to the top of the TV and feel it. And if it was warm, I was grounded for the next 6 weeks. I really cared for them.
But you're not bitter in any way.
No. I would say that I'm 90% free of bitterness. Harry and
but
Ilsa.
10% if it's
My father had a lumber business. He imported and exported wood. And he wanted me to import and export wood. And I said, I want to be an actor. He said, I don't want you to be an actor. I want you to take over the business. Why do you think I brought the business over here? I said, besides being chased by the Nazis, Dad.
So the wood business was not for you.
The wood business was not for me.
But you're very lucky in that you found your passion and you decided at a very early age
Yes.
that you wanted to be an actor.
Yes.
Can you tell me the age you were when you decided that you want to become an actor and what made you make
Okay, I don't know the answer to either of those. So we can move on. No. Since I was old enough to reason, I wanted to be an actor, and I have no idea how it came into my mind or my body. I just
Because it could be that you were projecting, that you were dealing with some deep psychological trauma, and you thought if
I didn't know that at 7.
it,
But I would lie in bed, and my mother, bless her heart, would come in with a hairbrush if I was not asleep in time. But I would lie in bed and think, how am I ever going to do this? How am I ever going to be there? But I need to be there, but I'm told I'm stupid. I'm told I would never achieve. I'm like a duck I imprint on, like a chair. And I believed them. I believed until like last Thursday. I believed I was... But I wanted to do that, yeah.
did you see a lot of theater in New York when you were?
I didn't. No, my parents. On Monday nights I wore a tuxedo, and when I was 11, we went to the opera. And can I just say, don't bother with Wagner's Ring. It's no, La Boheme was great. But anyway, and then I would use that music because, I don't know why. I would walk out of my room, I'm cheery, and then I would be attacked. They were feral. And I didn't even know why. And I went back in my room shaking, and I would play arias by Tebaldi, and the Three Tenors or whatever. And I went from my brain turning gray to becoming pink again through music. I can't make it, but I'm moved by music.
So you want to pursue a career as an actor?
Yes. Now, I couldn't act in high school. I went to McBurney School for Boys. Blue blazer, gray slacks, tie every day. Hello. You went to McBurney?
1964.
Graduated 1963. Gesund. But I went to McBurney, and the headmaster, Dr. Chamberlain, said, "Winkler, I want to know why you're not achieving." I said, "That makes two of us." I would like to know too.
And so you showed him up by eventually going to a little thing called the Yale Drama School, the most prestigious drama school in the United States.
Yeah. Well, I had to take geometry for 4 years, same course. And I took it in regular school and summer school. Regular school, summer school. Regular school, summer school. 4 times. And I finally passed with a D-. And that was in the summer of 1963. If I did not pass, I could not go to the one college out of the 28 that I applied to that said yes to me. So I went to Emerson College. 1960 what? No. You never know. But anyway, but this is great. I passed geometry with a D- in 1963 August. And from that day until tonight, not one person has ever said hypotenuse to me. So what were they thinking? And I finally realized that we have to teach our children how they learn, not what we think they should learn.
Okay, Yale Drama School.
Yale Drama School. I had the nerve.
D- aside,
yes.
You end up in the preeminent drama program
Right.
in the United
Well, I
States.
didn't have to take a math class.
What was it like?
Okay, so I am a person who is living until like recently being who I thought I should be. It was like my brain was soldered at the bottom so that all of my thinking about how to be what I wanted never really filtered down into the rest of my body. So I am with, my teacher is Stellar Adler, who literally studied with Stanislavski, one of the premier gods of the theater in Russia. And, so the grand dame of theater. She was married to Luther Adler, a very wonderful Yiddish theater actor, and she told us the story. This is who she is. She woke him up in the middle of the night and said, "Stop sleeping like an important man." So she said, "Okay, here is what you're going to do. This is your assignment. You went to Emerson too?" I didn't mean any disrespect. Please, don't charge the stage. The assignment was, we had to walk her through our imaginary garden. Winkler. Okay, I get up and I open the imaginary gate and I walk through, and she said, "Sit down, you see nothing." I said, "Stella, I swear to God, my forget-me-nots are right here. Sit down." It is no joke. I saw it. That was my last class. They were going to kick me out of school. And then I had the dean of the students, his wife taught. And I covered my shame, and when I didn't know anything, I covered it with humor. And she called me out and she said, "You are undermining my class." I said, "I don't even know who I am. How can I, they're going to kick me out of school." But 25 started, 11 finished, 3 were asked into the company. I was one of those 3. I made $125 a week, and my dream, sleeping in my bed on 78th Street, is now becoming a reality. And that was what it was like. Carmen de Lavalade, who was the prima ballerina for the Alvin Ailey group before Judith Jameson, was one of my teachers, and we did plays together. And in one of the plays, we had to be deer. And this was a great lesson to me. So I became a deer, and then I watched her, and she became a deer, and my antlers fell off my
Right.
And I said, "There's no way I can be a deer. You are the prima ballerina." She said, "But out of your body, your deer is different than mine, and we are in the same herd." And I'm telling you, that just resonated with me forevermore. That I did not have to be like anybody else. That just what you do, if it is working, is just fine.
And of course, when you graduated from this extraordinary program
Yes.
and left Yale Rep, you were just awash with offers of work, right?
With work? With work?
Offers of work.
Not one.
Not one.
But I did do commercials.
And
I left
your
after
fellow
a year.
students didn't really think that was a great idea.
It was not a great idea. No, we were trained for the theater. You don't do commercials. And then, of course, they asked me a very important question: how do you get them? Because I was working in front of a camera. I could do plays for free at night. And it was like manna from heaven. It was amazing. I just thought it was a great opportunity.
And then along comes an offer, or an audition, I should say. Did the program have a name at the time you did the audition? Was
You mean when I go to
Happy Days?
No, it was a new show, and now this is so I am torn. I am living under the guilt of the drama school, and my agent in California. I have just landed. I'm there 2 weeks. And Joan Scott said, "I'm going to send you an audition for a series." And I'm saying, well, you know what? I'm not sure I really should do a series. This was beyond the pale. Commercials, one thing, a series. Oh, my God. She said, "Will you just shut up and meet the people?" So I go to Paramount Studios. I have hair down to my shoulders, and I walk in, and every actor in the room is famous. And then there's me. Hello. How are you? Nice to see you. And I walk in, and there are 11 people: Gary Marshall, Tom Miller, Eddie Milkis, and other people, and Millie Gussie, the head of casting, behind a severe wooden desk. And then there's this man named Pasquale, and Pasquale is going to read with me. And I only had 6 lines. And I've told this story before, but I literally do not know where this inspiration came from, but all of a sudden I stood up and I looked at this man, very lovely guy, and, "Hey, don't you look at me. Avert your eyes, buddy. All right, let's do it." And then I did like the 6 lines. I threw the script up in the air. I sauntered out of the room. And on my birthday, you saw it. That's great. On my birthday, 2 weeks later, I got a call, "Would I like to play this role?" And now I go to Paramount, and it's the first day on the set, and it says, "Your character goes to the mirror and combs his hair." And I said to the director, I said, "I am so sorry. Every actor who has played this part has combed their hair. And I swore to myself, I am not going to comb my hair." He said, It's written. Go and do it. I go to the mirror. I pull out my comb. Hey, look at that. I don't have to because it's perfect. And that was completely improvised. They kept it, and it defined the character for the next 10 years.
It's an iconic American television moment. Could you have done that if you hadn't gone to Yale and studied with... No, I'm serious question. I mean, that is a piece of incredible
I don't know,
acting.
but what I was able to do, honestly, Dan, I was able to expand and to break through my imagination when I was working. And when I was living, I was very much like that bowl of Jell-O before it goes into the icebox.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, whoa.
Okay, enough of this highfalutin talk about method acting.
Okay.
Can you try to possibly explain to us what it was like to be Henry Winkler / Arthur Fonzarelli in the 1970s? What that level of celebrity was like?
All right. I will. There are two different points of view. One, we're in a cone of silence, right? we are all together.
We are in a
not
skiff.
going
We
to
are in a
repeat
skiff.
anything we hear
Yeah.
in this room, especially not in front of the senator. I'm sitting in my rented apartment. I have a wet bar. I have a couch. I have rented a Victrola, a record player, because it was vinyl at that time. I'm listening to Dan Fogelberg. My rented television is there. I have a bathroom and a bedroom. I have a tuna fish sandwich at all times in my icebox with 2 boxes of Amandine wine, red and white for guests, because I don't drink. I do, however, at that time, I did have a joint now and then. It's a knock on the door. Now, I'm living in one of those square apartments with the pool in the middle, around the corner from the famous Greenblatt's Deli. A knock on the door. Dan is playing. I'm looking for the knob. I open it, and a waft of smoke, and there are 3 men, and they are undercover police. And I said, I am so sorry. I swear to you, this is not something I do all the time. They said, we don't care. We just wanted to meet the Fonz. True. Now, the other side, and this is amazing. I am asked, because I'm the Fonz, I am asked to be the honorary chairman of the Special Arts Festival of Los Angeles down at the Music Center. And I go, and I'm making my way through these children. They're in wheelchairs, or they're on crutches, or they are blind, or they're deaf, but they're all artists of some sort. And as I'm walking, a little girl says, Fonz. And I turn around, and her mother is weeping and dissolved. And I said, I'm so sorry. What's going on? And she said, my daughter is 7. She has just spoken her first word.
Oh, my God.
Somehow, my doing what I love has jumped off the television and gone into this little girl. And now, it's for me. I know it. And now, I speak publicly sometimes. I travel, and I'm taking pictures with some of the people there at the speech. And father comes up, and he says, Adam would like to take a picture with you. He's 17, big, strapping fellow. And I said, of course. And I put my arm around him. I said, all right, Adam, here we go. We take a picture. The father is shaking. I said, what is the matter? He said, my son is autistic. Nobody can touch him. And the Fonz was able to, without any trouble whatsoever, put my arm around him and pull him in, and he was comfortable. And that is I'm telling you, people wanted to take off my socks without taking off my shoes. So it was a panoply of amazement that I felt then, and I felt yesterday. I felt today. I felt here with the wonderful response to the Fonz stories.
And you didn't find it annoying. You were never you.
When I was walking with my children, and somebody came up and I said, "I'm so sorry. I'm in a conversation with my children, and you'll have to excuse me." And when you tell people the truth, they just go, "Oh, okay, I get that." When you're in the bathroom and they open the stall, can this wait?
And when it ended, was it time for
It
you
was
to
time
move
to
on?
end the show, but I had a crisis. I have an office at Paramount. My lawyer, Skip Brittenham, said, "You know what? We're going to start a production company for you." And here's one of those things where I said, "No, I am dyslexic. I know nothing about business. I cannot do that." He said, "You will learn." And I could not be hired as an actor for years because they said he's wonderful, he's funny, but he's the Fonz. So I literally became a producer by default, a job I thought I couldn't do. And the first show, now I had, as part of my compensation, I had on-the-air commitments too, which meant if I brought something to ABC that they liked and I liked, they would put it right on. I didn't have to go through the pilot and testing and seeing if the executives liked it. And the first show that I sold was MacGyver. And here's the lesson I learned from that. You do, because we are all the same. We just look different, but on the inside, we are the same. And you do what you think is right. There is no right, there is no wrong. You cannot do something because, you think they're going to like this. I want to see it, ergo, I'm going to make it. And it ran for 7 years, and then in its new iteration, it ran for another 5 just a few years ago.
But you eventually did find work as an actor.
Yeah, but eventually.
And
Yes.
You get a call in, is it 1998 from Adam Sandler about a movie that
Yes.
he was making called Waterboy?
I did. I was making the worst movie ever made by a human being. Kiefer Sutherland was the star. They had fired 3 directors. It was called Control Tower. Oh. I want to tell you, it was so bad when they transferred it to tape that tape melted. But while I was making that movie, I got a call, Adam Sandler would like you to be the coach. And would you like to do it? And I said, let me think about it. Yes, I would. And that started my wonderful relationship with Adam, who is an amazement. He is an amazing man.
And that lead inexorably to this wonderful, extraordinary period of your career, the Barry.
Right. So, but
yeah.
First
I made it.
Thank you.
You have won an Emmy for it. You have. Did you not know that? You won an Emmy for Barry.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. If you watch the Emmy ceremony on television, if you watch it on playback, you can hear the announcer say, "This is Mr. Winkler's 1000th nomination." His first win. It was. I grabbed Stacy. I saw Bill Hader and Alec Berg, the brilliant young men who thought this up over coffee, that they were almost done. Their agents put them together. They had this meeting. They couldn't think of anything. They were about to leave. One said, hey, an assassin wants to be an actor. They sat down again, and they hatched Barry. And I don't know if I will ever experience anything as incredible as that show. The writing, the other actors, my character. It was amazing. It was amazing. The second year, we read around a table. We read the first 3 scripts. Second year of Barry. And I was so nervous. Oh, and I said to the men,
Why?
Why? Because I said, I need a meeting with you. And I said, look, I don't see any of the character I created in the beginning here in the second year. And they said, we will never repeat ourselves. I promise you, we will fill you out and you will make him come alive. And oh my God. And when I won the Emmy, I'm walking down the aisle, I walk up the stairs, and there is the king and the queen of The Crown. And Stacey and I had just finished the second season of The Crown. I now start talking to them about how incredible that moment. And they're looking at me like I'm nuts. And I spun around because it dawned on me that I had to make a speech, and I had 39 seconds left. And I talked so fast and thanked so many people. And at the end, I said, you can go to bed now, kids. Daddy won. 40, 43, and 52. True.
One of the themes of the book, something that emerges, is that you're not brimming with self-confidence.
Right.
That you struggle with insecurity.
Yes.
I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are we on the insecurities?
I would say 9 3/4. Truly, it's just the truth. And then I was so fatutzt that I thought I'm going to find a therapist, and I found this woman, and the way that I see it is the kernel of Henry is I covered it over with thick cement. And because of this doctor, and if I were to give her a gift, it would have to be the size of a skyscraper. Because she helped me jackhammer through all of the cement, and I am now on the way. So the beginning of my journey was who I thought I should be. And I am now becoming who I am. And people have asked me over the years, so tell me how to be cool. What is cool? You're the coolest guy. And what I understand is you being your authentic self is cool and magnetic and embracing, and it will free you to live a life you can't imagine. People are scared to make a change. I was scared to make a change. I was so rigid in my box. And then I realized I'm still in my Henry box, but I am having a wonderful time. I can fly out and I come back. And when you know yourself, you know everybody. It is powerful.
You've mentioned 3 or 4 times dyslexia.
Yes.
And your struggles with dyslexia.
Yes.
You've
How
written-
about this? The people who told me I would not achieve, the people who told me not to watch television, that I'm a dumme Hund, that I am not living up to my potential, gave it to me because it is hereditary.
But you're not bitter about that.
No! No. That's the part that has kind of dripped out.
But you've written a series of extraordinary books featuring Hank Zipser.
About a little boy, 8 years old. And when we were writing it, I can't spell. I'm not really good at the typewriter, but my partner Lynn is. And I knew how that little boy felt. And so I would walk and talk, and Lynn would type. Then Lynn had an idea. She typed, I waited. Then she read it back to me, and we argued over every word.
I mean, I can guarantee that there are parents in the audience here this evening who have children with learning differences.
Yes.
What do you say to parents about how to handle?
What do I say? I say, your children are not being difficult on purpose. Your job, our job, my job as a dad was to make sure that I saw my children, that I heard my children, that if there was a problem, and they are all, three of them are dyslexic. If there is a problem, and I don't even know what the problem is, I know there is a problem, and my job is to make sure that they are constantly buoyed so that they can meet their destiny. That's true.
And you also were knighted by the Queen for what you've done with.
I was given a beautiful pin.
No, you are.
But you were there.
But you are an order.
I am
British
the
Empire.
Order of the British Empire.
So
The honorary order.
am I supposed to be calling you Sir Henry or Lord Henry? Or?
You know what? Just for tonight,
Okay.
we'll let that go.
So we're going to do some take
But
some
when I
audience
meet you,
audience questions
it's sir.
In a minute. I have to make an announcement about.
You do?
Yeah.
Go
We're
ahead.
going to take some audience questions in a few minutes, but we're going to have a little bit of a lightning round.
Okay.
Now. Don't be too lightning about it. Okay. Your favorite concert ever?
Stacy and I just went. I love this woman, Brandi Carlile. So I cannot, now she has friends singing on the stage with her. Annie Lennox, I've never seen her in person. So powerful. When she sings her songs, my hair was blowing and we were outside. And then another friend was Joni Mitchell. The stage turns around and Joni is sitting on a gold throne and she's got a cane, and Annie, Joni, and Brandi were singing Joni's songs, and Joni danced and kept rhythm with her cane. She made her cane into a part of her being. Now I cannot leave the venue without hugging Brandi, and we go backstage. And there is Joni Mitchell. I've never met this poet, this extraordinary woman. And I walked up and I said, "Hi, my name is Henry Winkler." She said, "I know who you are." And then I said, "And this is Stacy, my wife." And she looked up and she said, "Oh, so you married the Fonz."
You are a well-known sports fan, fixture on the USC Trojan sideline
Yes.
for many years. Favorite sporting event ever?
Okay. I am talking on a show, The Rich Eisen Show. He is a sports show. And I am talking about the 4th season of Barry. I'm promoting Barry. And all of a sudden I blurted out, "Do you know Patrick Mahomes?" And he said, yes, I do. I said, I think he is incredible. He's so improvisorial. He plays with such joy. He's wonderful. So now Rich plays that for Patrick. Patrick invites me to come and see him play at SoFi Stadium. And I go there, I'm standing on the field, and this behemoth comes running at me and says, I have a surprise for you, and it is his jersey signed. Oh, I am 12 years old. And this Super Bowl, I wore my jersey a little snug, but I was in my living room, no one knew, and I think that's why they won.
Okay, favorite food.
Oh, it's coming up. I wait 363 days a year for Thanksgiving. And then it is not just the meal, it is the sandwich the next day. Wonder bread, mayo, fried stuffing, cranberry out of the can, none of that little berry shit. Turkey, some more mayo, and you smush it down. Oh my God.
All right, this is what I've been waiting for all evening.
Yes, what?
And then we'll do some questions after this. One of my favorite programs of all time was the old Inside the Actors Studio.
Yes.
With James Lipton. And James famously finished each program with the Pivot questionnaire. It's not, if Marjorie Taylor Greene is here tonight, it's not pivot or pivot. It's a pivot.
Are you saying that woman is in this hall?
I don't think. It'd be cool, I mean.
I have very dark thoughts.
Space lasers, Jewish space lasers. Anyway.
Do not make fun. I own one.
I'm part of the cabal. I mean, I don't know about you. In fact, we have a meeting later tonight.
You're my favorite writer.
I've got to get to my cabal meeting after this. Okay.
I just want to say that it is very, very difficult for me to read. And I've chosen a profession where reading is. But I found Daniel Silva in his first novel. And the man writes like a river. And all of that goes in. And I have read every book this man has written. And I am so proud that we are sharing this stage.
Okay, let's get back to some serious business here. What is your favorite word? Oh, I have to do it like Lipton. What is your favorite word, Henry?
My favorite word?
Yes.
I would have to say I have two. Tenacity and gratitude.
What is your least favorite word?
My least favorite word. My least favorite. I have to come back to that. I literally am stumped, and I'm pretty verbal.
I can give you my least favorite
What
word.
is your least?
No.
No. Yeah.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Somebody who needs to do what they do. And mostly with music, you know, when I'm memorizing a monologue, I listen to emotionally appropriate music. So when I'm doing it in whatever the project is, I hear the music in my head, which allows me to reach the emotion of what I'm doing. Sia, Brandy, as I mentioned. My son introduced me to Louis Cabaldi. I don't know if you know him. Now, the man has Tourette's, but when he is giving a concert and he has an episode and he melts down, the audience continues singing the song so that when he comes back, he knows where to pick it up.
That's extraordinary.
Oh my God, Bruce Springsteen. But I pick these people out because they don't just sing a song. It's not like the stylings of. They sing from their Gaderum. They sing from their center. And that is what turns me on when I'm working with somebody who is full.
What turns you off?
What turns me off?
Yeah.
Being dismissed. Not being seen. I have tried to get over this. It is like I have been covered in acid. It goes so deep, and it is from so long ago. And no matter, so far, the work I have done, I have not been able to get out of that way.
What is your favorite curse word? And you are in a synagogue.
I know. Well, what am I supposed to say? Damn? No. Okay, so here it is. So, the first movie, I can just say what is, okay. Baruch Hu or something. The first movie I see in Hollywood that is a screening, I'm invited to a Hollywood event, is Mean Streets, starring Harvey Keitel and Robert De Niro.
A lot of curse words in that one.
Ron Howard and I are walking down the street of Paramount, and leaning against the doorway is Robert De Niro. And I said, Ron, we have got to say hello. He said, are you sure? I said, Ron, we have got to say hello. We walk up, we say hi, we're doing this show, it is so nice to see you. And then I said, I have to tell you, Mr. De Niro, you use the word fuck better than anybody in the movies. And then we walked away. 40 years later, he's in a movie called The Intern. The director is a good acquaintance of mine. Her daughters are very good friends of our children. And Robert De Niro is in it. We go to the after party. Robert De Niro is there in a cap, standing against the wall. I said, okay, I have to do this. I have to ask you the question that is, I need to take a selfie with you. We're taking a selfie, and he said, 40 years ago, you said I used the word fuck better than anybody. Oh, my God. Ergo, it is my favorite.
I am tempted to stop after that story, but let's continue. What sound or noise do you love?
What sound?
Or noise do you love?
Okay, so I sit in our armchair in our living room when I get really, really tired or lacking in energy, and I listen to the sound of a rainstorm. But on my phone, it's not just any rainstorm. It's a rainstorm in the forest in Wales. How do I know? But I listen, I love it. Or the waves in Norway.
What sound or noise do you hate? Do you like the sound of leaf blowers? Leaf blowers?
Leaf blowers kill me. But
How did I know
we
that?
have leaf blowers, so I can't, I'm guilty of it. But I hate the sound when I am tired and it's late at night and it's 11 on, any noise. It is the time that Stacy thinks that she has to open the mail. The tearing of the envelope.
I should move on right there. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I would have been, honest to God, I would have worked with children. I would have made
You would've been
sure
great.
that children had a strong self-image. If I could not make a living doing what I love, I would work with children.
What profession would you not like to do?
Well, I mean, and this is for the common good. I would not be a heart surgeon.
Or someone that had to use geometry, say, in their work.
Yeah.
Yeah. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the
I
pearly
just
gates?
made a codicil in my will that when that time comes, that I am buried with my fly fishing rod, because you never know. Heaven?
Heaven?
I don't know. I would imagine, I just would imagine that it is peaceful. Peace.
So can we want to wrap up and begin some audience questions if we
Yeah,
can?
that would be great. There are 2 microphones.
There we have 2 microphones.
And I would love you just to tell me your name.
And let's try to ask. I'll be the school marm. Let's ask questions and hold the commentary down if we can, and just try to make them as brief as possible so we
Hi.
can get to as many questions as possible.
What is your name?
My name is Barbara.
Hi, Barb.
Hi. With everything that you have accomplished, what would you most like to be remembered for?
I think being a good dad and a good grandfather. You know?
Thank you.
I love that job. I love that part of my life. Thank you. Sir.
My name is Lou.
Hi, Lou.
My question is on X, formerly known as Twitter. Somebody posted a question and said, who would you like to see host Saturday Night Live? And your name came up a bunch of times. Number 1, would you do it? And number 2, is it true that you turned him down years ago?
I did turn it down because I knew that I could not do that job. When I was before becoming Henry, I was not ready to do it. I literally knew my limitations. I could do it now, but they never call.
Hi, my name's Lee.
Hi,
and
Lee.
Some of my earliest memories are watching Happy Days reruns because we didn't have cable, and those things came on. And but my next memory, my clearest memory,
Is the only reason you watched Happy Days because you didn't have cable?
I think it was
Thank
a
you.
gift, sir.
All right. No, I'm right.
It's a
there.
gift because we didn't have all those other distractions. We
Absolutely.
got to focus on
Absolutely.
the Fonz and Happy Days.
Let me tell you
in our
something. You show
mornings.
good taste.
But my next clearest memory of you was Scream.
Yes.
And I wanted
Okay.
to ask you, what
So
was it like getting that call from Wes Craven, knowing what the outcome
I
was going to
had
be?
sushi with Wes every 4 weeks. And then he said, I'm doing this movie and I have a small part. Would you like to do it? And I said, yes. And I did it. I played the principal. It was amazing. Then they cut holes in all of my clothes and I had tubes. And then I screamed and I died. And Wes came up and he said, can I ask you a question? Do you think it might be more excruciating than that? Could you scream a little louder? I said yes. So we do a second take. Now, they won't put my name on the movie. They won't put my picture or my name on the one sheet, on the poster, because I was the Fonz, and they thought that it would break up the rhythm of the horror. Now, they show the movie as a test. So they invite an audience in to write cards, tell them what they think so they know where to cut and what to do, what to keep. I get applause when I come on the screen. The same executive comes to me and he said, "Would you do press?" It was great. It was great. Thank you.
No, and on the F-bomb note, I think Sam Jackson has Robert De Niro beat now.
Who does?
Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel Jackson.
I think he now wins
I
that
never took a
round.
selfie with him, though.
No. Bucket list, sir.
Yeah.
Bucket list.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
Hi.
Hi. First of all, I wanted just to say your work in Barry was phenomenal.
Thank
I
you.
actually cried when you won the Emmy. It was so well deserved.
Thank you.
But I have a Happy Days question, actually.
Sure.
Since the phrase "jump the shark" has become part of the American vernacular, are you a little bit embarrassed or kind of proud of that?
All right, so my father said to me when we went to the White House, "Take cake." And I said, "I'm probably not going to take a cake." We're invited to the White House. He also said, "Tell Gary Marshall you water ski." I said, "No, I'm not going to tell him that. Thank you, though. Tell Gary Marshall you water ski." So I went to Gary Marshall. I said, "My father wants you to know I water ski." All of a sudden, I did everything but the jump because I can't do a stunt because there's only one of me and they wouldn't allow it. So now I'm water skiing, I let go of the rope, I pull up on the sand, and I walk out of the skis. And if you watch it, they freeze frame on my close-up, and I'm smiling. Half that smile is the Fonz going, "Hey, I did it." The other half is Henry going, "Holy mackerel, you did it." When the man, John Heim, was at Michigan with his roommate, and they came up with Jump the Shark, we were #1 for about 4 or 5 years after that. There were newspapers at that time that people actually read. And every time they mentioned Jump the Shark, they had a picture of me in water skis. And at that time, I had great legs. Didn't bother me. Didn't bother me.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Sir.
Yes, my name is Neil, and I'm also a graduate of McBurney School. I'm
my
actually in your class, and I'm a little disappointed that you didn't mention what I thought was your seminal theatrical event, which is when you co-starred next to me in our senior play. That senior play, I will remind you.
Let me just say, I hold that so dear. I did not want to just, expose it to
I'm
everybody.
very happy, but you could write more. It could be a
What
chapter.
play was it?
What's that?
What
The
play?
Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, and you were, to my Dr. Watson, Sherlock Holmes.
Wow.
And I want to really make sure that it's clear. Henry was marvelous. He was a professional. I was atrocious, and it was good. My mother mentioned my accent changed every third line, and I think it's good that we took our separate career paths at that point. But Henry, you mentioned in the interview and in your book that people thought you were stupid. And I have to say, for speaking for myself in that very strange institution we were at, the YMCA school and the whole thing, that I didn't think you were stupid. I just thought you wanted to be an actor.
Thank you.
And the rest of this stuff just wasn't very important to you. So it's great to see you and great to
Thank
see you
you.
such a
Thank
success.
you.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Lori, and
Lori.
100 years ago, well, not quite that long ago, you were in Cincinnati, the town where I grew up, and you had a Passover Seder at my next door neighbor's house, which I heard about after, and I was so disappointed. And it stuck with me for years until I met you when you were in the dinner party in DC at the Kennedy Center.
Absolutely,
And you
yeah.
were so kind, and you invited me to come backstage after the performance, and you introduced me to John Ritter
Yes.
as well. And the thing that was so wonderful about the gift that you gave me then is that it kept on giving, because I went to the Sundance Film Festival and I talked to John Ritter and explained that I had gone backstage, and he remembered, and he asked me to sit next to him during the premiere of his film.
Oh, that's
And so
wonderful.
thank you, and just for all that you've done over the years with Happy Days, and you've just really had such an illustrious career.
Thank you.
And thank you.
I didn't know what else to give you.
Hey, it was perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir.
Hi, my name is Wes, and I wanted to ask you about, I know when you left Happy Days and you started doing new movies, you did the movie Heroes, which for me, when I was in high school, I was very moved by, wrote about it for my high school paper, did a lot of things. I noticed then that you started doing roles that were so very different from what you'd done before and showed your wide range, and I'm curious about that movie and Night
I
Shift.
might have made a mistake that I was so crazy about being typecast that I might have moved away from what people liked what I was doing too fast. But that was my choice. I mean, when I met Stacy, I was so crazy about being typecast, I knocked on her door the first date, and her son, 4 years old, I was a candle on his cake a few months before, and he looked up and he went, "Hi, Fonz." And I said, "My name is Henry. Would you like it if I called you Ralph?" I was insane.
Is that the reason why you chose the more sedate role in Night Shift and let Michael Keaton? Because I thought you would have been the other role amazingly.
Ron came to me. He said, "You can play either role. Please be in the movie." And I chose to play Richie because I had just been flamboyant Fonz for 10 years. So I played Chuck. And yes, I made that decision. But when I was trained to play everything. So in my mind, I was just doing what I do. But I love that movie, Night Shift. I really do.
It's great.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi.
Hi, my name's Tom. And my mother used to do the exact same thing with the television, to see if we would have been watching it, but we thought she was, some kind of a witch.
Did she know my parents?
She might have.
Yeah.
I grew up not too far from where you grew up, but a little younger. Question about Happy Days. So the first episode, Chuck goes up the stairs and he never comes back downstairs. Right. Was there ever in the years that you were working on Happy Days any, did Gary Marshall ever say, "You know what, maybe we should have him come downstairs"? Or was that just never something that ever came up?
There were two Chucks. The first Chuck did a few episodes and then said, "I do not want to do this. This is crazy." And he left and went to San Diego and became, I think he became an insurance salesman. The second actor, what they realized was that I was the older brother. It was very difficult to have two older brothers and write for them, so they sent Chuck up the stairs. He never came down. That man is very hungry.
May I interject one from the
Go ahead.
virtual audience?
Go ahead. Yeah.
From Randy in D.C. You said in a recent interview with the Washington Post, quote, "I see my life as a block of Swiss cheese.
Yes.
So many holes. My life's journey is to fill in those holes to make it a block of cheddar. What remaining holes are you trying to fill in?"
Wow, that is really true. That was the image that I had so many and I wanted to become whole. I am on my way to becoming whole. And what is I still get a little bit defensive, and I would like to cut that out. And sometimes I come right up against the old Henry, and then the new Henry, and they battle. And I would like to just send him on his way.
Bad Henry?
Not bad Henry, just kind of like broken Henry. Just, yeah. Okay. Except that he got me here. So maybe I'll bring him back.
He was a good actor.
Yeah. Hi.
I think it's her turn.
Hi.
Oh, hi. My name is Caitlin. Actually, almost exactly 13 years to this day, I met you when you did your final Hank Zipser book tour at Politics and Prose here in D.C. And I still have that. I was in second grade back then. I'm in college now, and I'm so happy to be able to come back and see you again. I have a Hank Zipser question. at the end of the last book, he went off to the Professional Performing Arts School.
Yes.
What do you think Hank grew up to do with his life? What do you think he became?
I like to think that, it was very emotional for me. I was sitting on the bus, the Broadway bus. He was going. I saw my neighborhood leave, and it was a new neighborhood came, and then I made Gary Marshall the head of that school. Yes. Because Gary Marshall was my mentor, my teacher. He taught me how to be on a set, how to be an executive producer. I think Hank, because he was so resourceful and so tenacious, I think he grew up to be me.
That's all right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And so nice to see you again. Yeah. Hi.
Thanks. My name's Doug, and I want to say thank you to you and to Daniel for bringing so many Gentiles like myself into a synagogue, especially these days. And my question is, we know you can water ski. I know that you can't ride a motorcycle, but you did win a demolition derby.
Yes.
And in the episode that for a lot of people my age, that was the episode. It wasn't the shark or even the chicken stand. I wondered if you could tell us about that and how some of those scenarios were created for the show and how you did them.
The writers came up with everything, and then you'll see me sitting in the car, one hand on the wheel, one hand like on the back of the seat. At that time, the seats were like sofas. And then I got out of the car, and the stuntman got in and just knocked into all the other cars. And I wore a helmet. That's it. I never actually derbied or demolitioned. Hi.
Yeah. Hi, we only have time for 2 more questions.
Okay.
So sorry, so one here and one there.
What is your name?
Hi, I'm Haley.
Hi, Haley.
And on behalf of my parents, I want to say, hey.
Okay, so for 10 years, I went, hey, because I spoke in sound. I could say, hey, look at that, she's beautiful. Hey, you know what? I'm hungry. Hey, don't you mess with me. I reduced language to one sound because it was hard to be cool speaking so much as I do in real life.
Well, I think you've overcome that, but...
Thank you. And then I added one word. Whoa. Whoa.
I wanted to ask, you've talked about interviews, and obviously in your book, you said, you turned things down, you said no, and people ask, what one no do you regret? But what do you embrace about, I said no, I turned things down, and this is what I appreciate about it. And then quickly, if you like Brandi Carlile, I think you're due for a Maggie Rogers concert. If you
For who?
Maggie Rogers, if you haven't been yet. So, but you have owned saying no and turning things down. What do you embrace about that? Because I feel like a lot of people ask,
What do I
you wish
embrace
you had
about
not
saying
turned down?
no?
But yeah, what do you liked about that?
That is something I'd like to get rid of. I still have the impulse to think I cannot do something. And I would like to just circumvent that and go forward and just say, let me try.
Okay.
Yeah, I embrace, let me try.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, my name is Joe, and
Hi,
I want to
Joe.
thank you, and I think you're wonderful.
Thank you.
You've left and are leaving a great legacy. Part of that legacy, I've read, everybody in here has read, you're the nicest guy in Hollywood, even nicer than Tom Hanks. I don't know how that's possible.
Can I just say, that is so true. But here it is. I do not think I am nice. What I think is, and I believe this with all my heart, I am grateful. I am grateful that I'm on this earth. I am grateful that I get to do what I dreamt of doing on 78th Street. And out of that gratitude comes joy. And I love being here with all of you. I am so glad we were in this room together. And I am so glad you listened, because my parents never did. Oh. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And on that note, Henry Winkler.
Dan Silva.
No, Henry Winkler.
really great.
Thank you so much to all of you, to Henry Winkler and Daniel Silva. How awesome was that?